So, in terms of if we want to promote physical activity, we would need to understand the determinants of health. And I think something that's very important here is you don't necessarily need to understand it all. The key is knowing where to go to get the information. And that's it, in terms of writing funding bids, you don't have to be totally knowledgeable about everything about that. But you do have to know, where you can get hold of the information. And that's a big problem, because sport and physical activity is a very broad sector. And I don't think collaboratively things are shared very well. And we create informal networks. But you have to understand policy development. And I'll go through a quick cycle of that later, and that's all you need. And it's as simple as that, the cycle I'll show you. We've got to recognise the need for a cultural shift. What we're doing at the moment is creating lots of problems, and if we keep doing more of what we're doing, or focusing in on the problems, and I love it when people in health talk about health inequalities, because Manchester or the North West tends to stand up at any conference I've been to and say, we're the worst. It's fantastic, look at our track record. And then I think, well, hold on, we've got Manchester University, that's the other university, or as they refer to us, the Metropoly, in reference to our polytechnic roots. They've got a world-class research centre around health. They sit in an area which has got massive health issues. And I'm thinking, on one hand, they're lauded for the stuff they produce, and on the other hand, you walk around the corner from where they are, and it's not good. So, the cultural shift and valuing social policy, consider population level approaches. It's not just an individual. How can you make mass change as well? The great one for me was when the oil strike, when they picketed the different oil venues, cycle sales went through the roof. People changed their behaviour pattern because there was a social construct there, and they had to do it. Adopted evidence-based practice, and I'll come back to this about data trading, and I think there's a value attached to, perhaps John covered it, about not just gathering what the funders ask you to gather, but maybe gather just a bit more. Because the thing to remember about all of this is it's dynamic. Policy changes. And so what somebody funded you for 3 years ago, situations change. Government is very knee-jerk nowadays and very driven by the media. So, the media says, hoodies, and everybody's, terrible kids, and, that's the agenda. And then they in response, they say, there's some money out here, and we're doing lots of different things. And it's the same with dangerous dogs, and there's flavour of the months. So you've got to be aware of some of those things, and be in it for the long haul. I think the one thing that we can learn in terms of sport and physical activity is the smoking lobby was in it for the long haul. And if I'd have said to you 5 years ago, total blanket smoking ban, where we are now, people just, they wouldn't have believed it. In terms of setting a goal, they'd have probably said, we can't do that. Why? Because it's not achievable, it's not realistic. And yet, we sit here now, and it's changed. And there's a big acceptance of that change. And so that's, I think, a real point that I put about when I say achievable and realistic. I'm not going off on one and being totally airy-fairy, but I think that when people are honestly saying that the only way we're going to, at a societal level, influence that change is to get these bans. And the advocacy went on back into local communities, back to pubs, was people saying, yeah, I smoke, but to be honest, if you told me I shouldn't around people, I'm okay with that. And it was about collecting the information which allowed that change to happen. So, policy